Let's draw this Krabby Crab step by step from a flat outline to a fully shaded drawing. In this first step, we'll create the crab's outline. But where do we start? Well, let's take a look at this reference photo and try and break it down into simple shapes. For example, I think that the crab's body looks like a soft diamond shape. His legs and claws can be simplified with curvy lines, which we can thicken up and divide into segments. But let's first start by marking the height of the crab's body. I'll use 2 fingers in the middle of my page, marking both ends and connecting them with a vertical line. Now that we've marked the height of the crab's body, we can use that measurement to mark its width. To me, it looks like the width of the crab is almost twice its height, maybe a bit shorter. I'll use my pencil to measure its height, and mark both ends in the middle of the vertical line. I'll make another marking on both ends, marking the horizontal line and making it a little shorter. Now I can draw the rest of the crab's body. I'll start by adding the curvy top of his body by drawing a line from the left horizontal marking to the top height marking. Then closing it off on the other side, creating this umbrella shape. To draw the bottom half of the crab's body, I want to first make some markings that'll help me out. I'll eyeball each of the halves horizontal line and divide it down the middle. Using those 2 markings, I'll add a light vertical line down the lower marking and mark it with a dot. Now I can easily draw the flat bottom of the crab by drawing a line that's slightly shorter than the distance between the 2 markings we made. I'll erase the markings and draw a diagonal line to close off the body shape. Nice! Now let's add the crab's legs and claws. Oh my, there's a lot of them. To place them correctly, I want to first make some general guidelines for them. Looking at the reference, I can see that if I create an ellipse around the crab's body, it'll be much easier to add the legs and claws. So let's do that. I'll use my pencil to measure half of the crab's width and mark it on both ends with a dot. I'll do the same for its height, this time using a full vertical line as the measurement. Once I have 4 markings around the crab's body, I can draw an ellipse around it by drawing curvy lines from one mark to another. Now that we have a simple guide to work with, I want to mark the crab's legs and claws with these simple segmented lines. Notice how each segmented line starts at the crab's body and ends at the surrounding ellipse, aside from the 2 bottom swimming legs, which are a bit shorter. I can also tell that his legs are more or less symmetrical on both sides of his body. To achieve that, I'll start by first marking the legs and the claw on the left side of the crab. I'll start by marking the claw, drawing this simple line segmented into 3 parts. For its top leg, I'll start slightly above the horizontal line and mimic the shape we see in the reference. I'll do the same thing with the next leg, starting below the horizontal line, this time bending downwards. I'll repeat this process again for the next leg. For the small swimming leg, I'll start drawing it from the bottom left of the crab's body, making sure it's shorter than the other legs we drew. Nice! Now let's repeat the process for the right side of the crab's body, trying to maintain the symmetry for all 4 legs. The claw, however, is angled differently than the one we drew, not quite reaching the edge of the ellipse. So I'll draw the right claw with that in mind, making sure our guide doesn't touch the ellipse. I'll then continue to add the rest of the legs, making sure they're nice and symmetrical. Okay, now let's actually draw these legs and claws. To do that, I first need to lightly erase the guides we created, leaving only a faint trace of it. Starting with the top left leg, I'll create a short rectangle. Followed by a longer one which will divide down in the middle and make sure that the tip of the leg tapers to a sharp point. I'll do the same with the 2 remaining legs, following the faint guidelines we erased, drawing simple rectangles that end with a sharp tip. Now let's add the crab's big claw. Looking at the reference, I can see that the crab's claws are larger and wider than his legs. They're thicker and stubbier. I'll draw them with that in mind, drawing these 2 short, thick segments of his claw. For the rest of his claw, I'll curve a line to the edge of our faint marking. End it with a diagonal line and close it off. Now I can divide that chunk into segments where the crab's pinchers start. I'll mark the middle of the last segment and curve 2 lines, creating 2 sharp tips for the crab's pinchers. Then, erase the leftover diagonal line. To finish off the left side of the crab, let's add his little swimming leg. Let's draw it segment by segment, starting with a simple short rectangle following the faint guide we have. For the second segment, I'll draw this tear-like shape, about half the size of the first segment. I'll draw the third segment starting with a short vertical line to the right of the leg, and close it off with a curvier, bulbous shape. For the final segment of this leg, I'll add this almond shape by adding 2 curvy lines and another straight angled line in between them. And there you have it. Oh, wait, no, I gotta do the other side. I'll repeat the same process for the right side of the crab by first drawing his 3 sharp legs. To place the legs correctly, just make sure they're symmetrical to the legs you've already drawn. Nice! Now let's add the right claw. Following the guide we lightly erased, making sure it's curving inwards compared to the left claw. I'll draw the first 2 thick segments of the claw and curve a line for its top. I'll draw a short straight line and close off the bottom of the claw. I'll then divide that segment into 2 and add the crab's sharp pinchers. For his final swimming leg, I'll repeat the process we went through, this time mirrored on the other side. Great job! Now let's erase the unneeded construction lines, refine the top of the crab's body, and give him his beady little eyes. There isn't too much to erase, just the construction lines and the top lines of the crab's body. I actually want to redraw it with sharp pointy lines, just as we can see in the reference. I'll erase the unneeded lines and redraw the top of his body using this sharp wave shape. To add his strange but amazing little eyes, I'll create 2 curvy hill shapes and draw a little circle inside them. To add his little antennas, or as I like to call them, his frowny eyebrows, I'll draw 2 simple curved lines. And there you have it! You drew a great looking outline of a crab. In the next step, we'll make this crabby little guy come to life with the power of shading.